Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling smaller than when it began? Not hurt by a fist, not wounded by a weapon, but drained, quietly, invisibly, by someone who never once raised their voice. You were taught to fight back, to call them out, to expose them. But there is an older wisdom here, a wisdom the wounded rarely learn in time. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will understand exactly what to do instead, and you will never feel small in front of them again. 1. The Trap of Confrontation. Sit with me for a moment. I want you to remember the last time someone hurt you, not with their hands, but with their words, with their silence, with the way they twisted a simple conversation until you no longer knew what was true and what was not. Do you remember what you wanted to do? You wanted to fight back. You wanted to say, "I see you. I see exactly what you are doing." You wanted them to feel the same confusion, the same smallness, the same ache that they gave to you. This is natural. This is human. When we are wounded, we want the world to know who wounded us. But I have watched this pattern for many years, in many people, in many different corners of this world. And I have learned something that took me far too long to understand. The moment you call out a narcissist, you have already lost. Not because you are wrong, not because your pain is not real, but because confrontation is their language. It is the ground they have built their entire life to fight on. When you accuse them, they do not hear truth. They hear a challenge. And a challenge is something they know exactly how to answer. They will twist your words before you finish your sentence. They will make themselves the victim of your accusation. They will tell others that you are the one who is unstable, the one who is difficult, the one who cannot be trusted. And the terrible part, the part that breaks so many good people, is that they will often be believed. This is not because the world is cruel. It is because most people cannot imagine that another human being could lie this smoothly, this calmly, without any visible guilt on their face. Good people assume others carry the same conscience they do. This assumption is exactly what allows the pattern to continue. So when you stand in front of them and say, "You are manipulating me," you are not exposing them. You are feeding them. You are giving them a stage, an audience, a role to perform. And they will perform it beautifully, because they have had a lifetime of practice. I am not telling you this to make you feel powerless. I am telling you this because there is a different kind of power, one that does not need to be proven, one that does not need to be witnessed, one that cannot be twisted into something it is not. But before I show you that power, I want you to understand something deeper about confrontation itself. Confrontation asks for a reaction. It says, "Prove to me that I am right, and prove to you that you are wrong." But a person who has spent their whole life avoiding truth will never meet you honestly in that space. You cannot pull a drowning man to shore by arguing with the water. I have seen people spend years of their one precious life trying to make a narcissist admit what they did, trying to extract an apology that will never come, trying to win an argument that was never a fair fight to begin with. And here is the quiet tragedy in this. While you are pouring your energy into being heard, they are not losing sleep. They are not replaying the conversation at 3 a.m. You are the one carrying the weight of a battle they have already forgotten. This is why I say, do not call them out. Not because they deserve your silence, but because you deserve your peace. There is a moment coming in this conversation, a very important one, where you will understand exactly what to do with all that fire inside you, the fire that wants justice, that wants to be understood, that wants the truth to finally be spoken out loud. That fire does not need to disappear. It needs a different direction. 2. Why silence is not weakness. Now let me ask you something that may feel uncomfortable at first. What if silence is not what they want you to think it is? Many people believe that staying quiet means giving up, that walking away from an argument means the other person has won. This is one of the oldest illusions in the human mind, and it has caused more suffering than almost any other. I want you to picture 2 men standing at the edge of a cliff, arguing about who owns the wind. One shouts louder, one insults the other, one tries every clever trick to prove his point, and the second man simply turns and walks away. Who won? Neither, because there was nothing to win. The wind belonged to no one. This is what confrontation with a narcissist often looks like from the outside. Two people arguing over something that was never a fair or real exchange to begin with, because that one side is negotiating with honesty and the other side is negotiating with control. Silence, real silence, is not the absence of strength. It is strength that has stopped explaining itself. Think about the people you have met in your life who carried the most quiet power. I do not mean people who were cold or distant. I mean people who did not need to convince you of anything. They simply were who they were, and their presence spoke louder than their words ever could. That is what silence, used wisely, can become for you. When you stop trying to make someone understand something they have chosen not to understand, you are not surrendering. You are removing your energy from a place where it was being wasted. You are taking back the hours, the emotions, the sleepless nights that you were giving away for free. There is an old idea, one that has traveled through many cultures and many centuries in different forms, that says, "The wise do not waste their breath on ears that were never listening." This does not mean you become passive. It does not mean you allow harm to continue without protecting yourself. Silence here does not mean staying near them and saying nothing. It means no longer offering explanations to someone whose goal was never to understand you, only to control the story. There is a very specific kind of relief that comes the day you finally understand this. It is the relief of no longer needing someone else's approval of your own truth. You already know what happened. You already know what was said, what was done, what was felt. You do not need them to confirm it for your reality to be real. I have met so many people who spent years waiting for someone to say, "You were right. I did that to you." And I always tell them the same thing, that apology may never come, and your healing cannot wait on a door that may stay closed forever. So silence becomes something sacred, not silence as suppression, silence as a boundary, a line you draw, quietly, that says, "I will not perform my pain for someone who only watches for their own entertainment." But there is something even more powerful hidden inside this kind of silence, something that most people never discover because they are too busy trying to be heard to notice it. When you stop reacting, something begins to happen to the other person that you never expected. 3. The mirror they cannot escape. Here is the truth few people are ever told. A narcissist does not fear your anger. Your anger is familiar to them. It is fuel. It is proof that they still hold power over your emotions, and that is exactly what they are searching for, whether they realize it consciously or not. What they cannot survive is your stillness. When you stop reacting, stop defending, stop explaining, you become something they have never learned how to face. You become a mirror, and in that mirror, for the first time, they are left alone with themselves. This is deeply uncomfortable for a person who has spent their entire life avoiding their own. But reflection, because somewhere, buried far beneath the performance, beneath the charm, beneath the control, there is a wound, a frightened, hollow place that they have spent years covering with power over others. When you give them nothing to fight, nothing to twist, nothing to perform against, they are forced, even if only for a moment, to sit with that hollow place alone. And that is the one thing they have built their entire identity to escape. This is not about punishing them. This is not revenge disguised as peace. I want to be very clear about this, because the mind can quietly turn wisdom into another form of the same old war if we are not careful. This is about understanding a simple, timeless truth. What a person cannot face in themselves, they will always try to place onto someone else. And the moment you refuse to carry it for them anymore, you give it back to its rightful owner. You do not need to announce this. You do not need to say, "I am done carrying your pain." You simply stop picking it up when it is offered to you. I remember a teaching from long ago, one passed quietly between many generations of thoughtful people, that says something like this: the storm does not ask the mountain for permission to pass. It simply passes. And the mountain, unmoved, remains. You are the mountain. Their storm was never meant to define your shape. There is something else I want you to understand, something that changes everything once it is truly felt and not just heard. Your silence, your stillness, your refusal to perform, this is not for them. It was never meant to fix them, change them, or teach them a lesson they may never learn. It is for you. It is the return of your own energy, back into your own hands. It is the ending of a war you never should have been fighting alone in the first place. It is the quiet, unshakable, knowing that your worth was never something they had the power to decide. And once you feel that, truly feel it, not just understand it in your mind, something shifts permanently inside you. You stop looking for their apology. You stop needing them to see the truth. You start living as someone who is no longer waiting for permission to be at peace. This is only the beginning of what this kind of stillness can build inside you. Because once you learn to stop feeding the fire, a much deeper question begins to rise. One that asks not how to survive them, but how to protect the peace you are slowly, quietly reclaiming for good. 4. Guarding your inner peace. Let me ask you something now that we have come this far together. What are you protecting right now in your life? Most people protect their homes. They lock the doors. They check the windows. They install lights that turn on when a stranger walks too close. We understand, instinctively, that our physical space deserves guarding. But so few people ever ask this same question about their mind. Your peace is not a mood. It is not something that simply happens to you on a good day and disappears on a bad one. Your peace is a place, a space inside you, as real as any room in your home. And just like your home, it can be entered by anyone you allow through the door. For a long time, you may have left that door open, not because you were careless, but because you were kind. You believed, as most good-hearted people do, that everyone deserves access to your patience, your explanations, your understanding. This is a beautiful instinct. It is also the exact instinct that a person who feeds on control will look for first. So I want to teach you something simple today, something you can carry with you long after this moment has passed. Not everyone has earned a place inside your peace. This is not coldness. This is not becoming hard or bitter or closed to the world. It is the opposite. It is how a warm heart survives long enough to keep being warm. A candle does not lose its light by refusing to stand in the wind. It simply finds shelter so that its flame can keep burning for the people who actually need its light. Guarding your peace looks quiet from the outside. It does not announce itself. It does not perform. It shows up in small, private decisions that no one else will ever see. It looks like choosing not to reply to a message crafted only to provoke you. It looks like leaving a room, calmly, without needing to explain why. It looks like noticing the tightness returning to your chest when a certain name appears on your phone, and choosing this time not to answer with your whole evening. These moments will feel small. They will feel almost too small to matter. But peace is never protected by one large, dramatic act. It is protected the same way it is destroyed, slowly, through 1,000 quiet choices, repeated daily, until they become who you are. There is something I want you to sit with, something that might feel strange at first. Guarding your peace is not selfish. I know this word has been placed, wrongly, beside every act of self-protection, as if choosing yourself means abandoning others. But you cannot pour warmth into anyone else's life from a well that has been drained dry. The people who truly love you will never resent your boundaries. Only those who benefited from you having none will ever call your peace selfish. Let that settle for a moment, because once you understand this, you will begin to see your own life differently. You will start to notice how much energy you have been spending on people and situations that were never yours to fix. And slowly, without needing to declare it to anyone, you will begin choosing differently. But guarding your peace is only the beginning, because peace that is only protected can still remain small, still remain fragile, still remain something you must constantly defend. There is a deeper step still waiting for you, one that turns protection into freedom. 5. The power of walking away. I want to tell you something that took me many years to fully understand. And I want to tell it to you now, simply, so that you do not have to wait as long as I did. Walking away is not defeat. Walking away is one of the most powerful decisions a human being can ever make. We are taught, from very early in life, that staying means strength, and leaving means giving up. We are told to fight for relationships, fight for friendships, fight for family, no matter the cost. And there is truth in this. When the people across from us are also fighting, when there is mutual effort, mutual honesty, mutual respect. But what happens when you are the only one fighting? What happens when you are the only one showing up, the only one apologizing, the only one trying to understand, while the other person simply waits for you to come back, again and again, no matter what they have done? This is not a relationship. This is a pattern. And patterns do not change because you love someone enough to stay inside them longer. Walking away, in this context, is not running from a challenge. It is recognizing a truth that many people spend years refusing to see, that some situations were never meant to be solved. They were meant to be left. I know this is hard to hear. I know somewhere inside you, there may be a voice saying, but what if they change? What if I give it just a little more time? This voice is not wrong to exist. It exists because you are someone who believes in people, who wants to believe the best is still possible. But I want you to ask yourself something honestly. How many more months, how many more years are you willing to trade for a possibility that has already shown you, many times, what it actually is? Walking away does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop sacrificing yourself as proof of that care. There is a story I return to often about a traveler crossing a long desert. Partway through his journey, he finds a stone in his sandal. At first, it is only a small discomfort, easy to ignore. He tells himself he will deal with it later, that the destination matters more than the pain in his foot. But mile after mile, the small stone becomes a wound, and by the time he finally stops to remove it, the damage has already been done, and healing takes far longer than removing the stone ever would have. Toxic patterns in our lives are very much like that stone. We tell ourselves we will deal with them later. We tell ourselves the destination, the relationship, the family peace, the friendship matters more than this one uncomfortable moment. But the longer we wait, the deeper the wound becomes. Walking away, at the right time, is not weakness. It is wisdom that refuses to wait for a wound to become permanent. And here is something remarkable that happens the moment you truly walk away, with your whole heart, not just your body. You begin to notice how much lighter you feel. Not immediately. Grief and freedom often arrive together, hand in hand, and that is completely human. But underneath that grief, something steady begins to grow, a quiet strength that was always yours, simply buried beneath years of trying to hold something that was never holding you back. There is one final piece to this teaching, one that ties everything we have spoken about together, because walking away, guarding your peace, choosing silence over confrontation, these are not separate lessons. They are all leading you toward the same destination, a place where nothing outside of you has the power to decide who you are. 6. Becoming untouchable from within. This is where everything we have spoken of finally comes together. Not untouchable in the sense that nothing can hurt you. Life will still bring pain. People will still disappoint you. This is the nature of being alive, and no wisdom, no teaching, no amount of inner strength will ever remove that completely, nor should it try to. Untouchable means something different. It means that your sense of who you are no longer depends on how someone else chooses to treat you. Think about how much of your life may have been shaped by other people's opinions of you. Their approval decided your good days. Their criticism decided your bad ones. Somewhere along the way, without realizing it, you may have handed them the pen that was writing your own story. Becoming untouchable from within means taking that pen back. It means understanding, deeply and completely, that a narcissist version of you was never the truth. It was a reflection of their own fear, their own emptiness, projected outward and placed onto you because it was easier than facing it themselves. Their words about you were never really about you at all. This does not happen overnight. I will not stand here and promise you a single moment where everything changes and the pain disappears forever. That is not how healing works. And any teacher who tells you otherwise is not being honest with you. What I can promise you is this. Every time you choose silence over explanation, every time you guard your peace instead of surrendering it, every time you walk away instead of staying to be diminished, you are building something. Slowly, quietly, brick by brick, you are building a version of yourself that does not shake so easily, a version of yourself that can hear cruelty and not absorb it as truth. This is the real transformation. Not becoming cold, not becoming distant from the world, but becoming so rooted in your own worth that no one else's opinion can uproot you. I want you to remember something as you go on from here. You were never the problem in that relationship, that friendship, that family dynamic that drained you for so long. You were simply the one who still had a conscience left to hurt. That is not a weakness. That was always your strength. It was simply placed in front of someone who did not deserve to witness it. Carry it forward now, but carry it more wisely. Give your patience to those who return it. Give your softness to those who protect it, not those who exploit it. And when you meet someone who tries once again to make you carry their storm, remember the mountain. Remain still, remain whole, remain yourself. You do not need to prove your peace to anyone. You only need to protect it. And from this day forward, that is exactly what you will do.